All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about what Canelo Alvarez had to say about Jermall Charlo and David Benavidez, basically telling them they need to fight each other and he will fight the winner. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, a little bit of Demetrius Andrade, and what Canelo Alvarez had to say today on ES News about he would be willing to fight, who he would be willing to fight, and what it would take to get this fight made. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. Greatly appreciate you supporting the channel and continuing to watch the videos that we put out here. If you're not subscribed, I would invite you to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of when we release more videos, and make sure that you select all notifications. Otherwise, you'll just get them occasionally. And we really do have great live streams in the morning, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific Time. We have really good conversations, so I hope that you would come and support over there and watch us and go back and forth in the chat with us on the day's boxing news. So let's get to this. Canelo Alvarez, have not been very happy with Canelo because honestly, man, he very much disappointed me by taking a 2-fight deal to fight on the zone against Demetrius Bivol and Gennady Golovkin. Do not like the fights. Do not interested in the fights. Gonna watch the fights because I'm just a boxing addict, so that's gonna happen. However, not happy at all about the prospect of paying $80 for that when I know he could have given me a much better value fight against Jermall Charlo and against David Benavidez if he was able to get past Jermall Charlo. But today, and I'm gonna try to do this fairly because I don't want to be called a Canelo Alvarez hater, because honestly, I'm not a Canelo Alvarez hater. I'm just disappointed in the guy and the way that this stuff has been going over the last couple years, because I know he's one of the best fighters in boxing and I want to see him in the best fights, right? And I call me selfish, but I want to see him fight guys that I've always wanted to see him fight, and I just have a bit of a memory like that. I've been wanting to see him fight Jermall Charlo since 154, been wanting to see him fight Demetrius Andrade since 154, and now they were all moved from 154 to 160, and now it looks like they're all going to be in 168. Canelo's undisputed champion at 168, so I'm like, all right, third time's a charm, third weight class, let's see the fight. But it doesn't pan out so that he can fight Dimitri Bivol, excuse me, somebody that all of the sudden people are ranking very highly, and that were not doing that for him a month ago. But all of a sudden he turns into a world beater once Canelo Alvarez says he's going to fight him to justify the fight being made. And Gennady Golovkin was amped about him fighting Gennady Golovkin at 160 pounds back in 2017, right? Back 5 years ago, whenever that was. But I'm just not amped about seeing it now. However, for the sake of fairness, Canelo Alvarez said, look, in sake of being fair, I'm going to try to explain what he said in a way that is giving, where I don't treat him like he's being unreasonable in what he's saying. What he's saying is all these other guys at 168 pounds, they need to all fight each other, and then I'll fight the winner, right? That's what they say. You need to fight all these other guys, and I'll fight the winner. That sounds good, and if it could happen, trust me, I would love it. I would love to see Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade fight one another. Love to see it. Love to see David Benavidez fight Andrade or Charlo. Love any combination of those fights taking place, would be absolutely terrific. If they happen, great. But here's my thing. What is the likelihood of those guys all fighting each other, and why didn't anybody else got to do all of that? Right? Dimitri Bivol hasn't fought all of the top guys at 175. Sergey Kovalev didn't fight all of the top guys at 175. He didn't fight Beterbiev. He didn't fight Bivol. You look at 75 pounds, it's the same situation there. And by the way, it's also the same situation at 168 when Canelo Alvarez left the weight class where all those guys were when they were at 160. 168 pounds, those guys didn't fight each other. Callum Smith did not fight Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders did not fight Caleb Plant. Canelo Alvarez beat each and one of those guys and collected their belts and got their belts, right? David Benavidez especially is kind of a hole in that argument because David Benavidez was a champion, got stripped of his belt because he was overweight, and none of those other guys fought David Benavidez before they had a chance to get to Canelo. It's just interesting that the only people that got to knock each other off in order to get to him are Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, and David Benavidez. Just coincidentally, the guys that I think are the best fighters and the toughest competition for him. And not just me, Oscar De La Hoya thinks that as well. It's not just me, so does Marcus Maidana, so does Mike Tyson. I'm not alone in believing that those guys are the competition for Canelo Alvarez. So it just seems a little bit funny to me that he holds those guys responsible to standards that he's not holding other people to. However, cannot lie with how rewarding it would be if we got an opportunity to see those fights take place. I don't have any problem with those guys fighting each other, and I hope that they do fight each other. However, the winner of that fight is not guaranteed a fight with Canelo Alvarez. If Canelo Alvarez won't fight you when you're a champion at 154, and he won't fight you when you're champions at 160, and you get to 168 and he says, okay, you guys both fight each other and I'm going to fight the winner, how do you know that he's going to do that? You don't know that he's going to do that. And so those guys are going to have to pretty much say, okay, we're going to knock each other, and especially at 168 pounds, where none of them can fight for a championship. It's not like Jermall Charlo can go to 168 and fight David Benavidez for a belt. Can't do it. Demetrius Andrade can't go and fight Charlo or Andrade for a belt at 168 because Canelo has all the belts. If Canelo was a champion in the weight division and then he said, look, man, you guys can all fight each other and then I'll fight the winner of that. That means the other guys can consolidate belts and then they could fight Canelo Alvarez with the belt that they consolidated or the belt that they got. But that's not the case at 168. There's no championship belts there. So, and Canelo says that he's going for history, he's chasing belts and all of that. Why won't you defend your belts at 168 against the guys that are at 168? You're just going to have the 168-pound belts sitting there, and while they all fight each other for no belts, 2 out of the 3 of them don't get a chance. 2 of the 3 of them get knocked off, and then you're going to fight the one guy that's left. Meanwhile, you're going to fight guys that don't have belts at other weight classes. I hope you guys see the privilege in that. Nobody else gets that. If somebody is the undisputed champion like George Kambosos at 135 pounds, the conversation isn't, okay, well, Devin, you go fight Lomachenko, and if you beat Lomachenko and then you beat Gervonta Tank Davis, if the 3 of you guys all fight, then I'll fight the winner of that. But I'm going to keep my undisputed championship and fight guys other than the best in the division till the best fighters in the division all knock each other off. Do you see what I'm saying? It is just something that just doesn't sit right about that whole argument. However, you know, what sits right and what reality is 2 different things. And I do believe that is what Jermall Charlo and Demetrius Andrade and David Benavidez are going to have to do in order to put themselves in that position. They're going to have be at 168, have no belts, beat each other, become the guy that beat them, be ranked high, pay your sanction fees, be ranked high in all of the sanctioning bodies, similar to the way what Jaron Ennis is doing, and the way that Virgil Ortiz are doing at 147 pounds, and pretty much go and be contenders and treat yourself like you're a contender and then get yourself to the top of the rankings in every sanctioning body, right? But like I said, the politics behind making those fights, the money, the purse demands around making those fights, it's going to be a lot of drama, and it would be a lot easier for boxing, and quite honestly, every bit as entertaining if Canelo would just say, hey, okay, I'm going to beat Charlo, then I'm going to beat Demetrius Andrade, then I'll beat David Benavidez. I beat all of you, gone away. Never heard Muhammad Ali telling all those guys, hey, I'm not going to fight you guys until you all fight, till you guys all knock each other off, and then maybe I'll fight the guy that comes out the top. But anyway, it is what it is, man. And Canelo, forgive me, is in a position where he can do this. No doubt about it. He doesn't have to fight any of these guys. The sanctioning bodies aren't going to make him fight. His fan base doesn't care about him fighting any of these guys. In fact, they sound like they don't want him to fight him. So they're going to have to do something a little bit extra if they want to get up there and do that. And then when somebody does fight, pop themselves out of the top of that, just pray that somebody else doesn't come along and they say, oh, well, I'm much more interested in him. I don't like your style. Yeah, Demetrius Andrade won, but Demetrius Andrade, I don't like his style. And plus, who did he beat? These guys weren't champions. That type of nonsense. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's hope we get to see these fights. And with that, I'm out. Peace.